26th straight game over the Bobcats on Sunday. Dwyane Wade was out. He did not play because of a sore knee. And as of now, the Heat are only 7 wins away from the 1971-72 Lakers all-time record of 33 in a row. Miami looks to continue the streak tonight in Orlando at 7 Eastern right here on ESPN. And here's a question. Will the Heat break the win streak record? And you know what, Stephen A., I'll start with you first. Do you think they can break it?
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that they can. I firmly believe that. I'm of the mindset that, listen, the Chicago Bulls, if Derrick Rose were healthy, would definitely be standing in the way. The San Antonio Spurs this Sunday, assuming that the Heat make it through this week, which I believe they will. I will be at that game, Skip. That means it's relevant. Yes, it does. I will be there in San Antonio if they get it. Counts, baby. It counts. I will be at that game if it gets to that point. But I'm of the mindset, again, that San Antonio is really the only team. No disrespect to the Knicks, but they've been up and down and struggling, and they have the Heat after San Antonio in Miami. I can't see the Knicks winning that game. I certainly don't see Philadelphia or Milwaukee or somebody like that knocking them off. To me, it comes down to Chicago without Derrick Rose, which I can't see happening, or San Antonio this Sunday, which is very, very, very possible. That's it. And I think that the Heat will get up for that game. I was in Miami on Friday night, and one of the things they were talking about at that time was not the players itself, but people close to the players were telling me they're more worried about the lower-level teams, the lower-tier teams, than they are about San Antonio, because they have no doubt D-Wade and the crew will be up and ready to go for that game. It's the lesser opponents, per se, that everybody's concerned about, because you find yourself lagging a little bit. It's hard. A couple of players, it was hard for them to get out of bed on Friday to play their game against the Detroit Pistons, okay? It might have been hard for them to get up yesterday for the Bobcats, but they did it, and they handled their business. I'm just of the mindset that the only team standing in their way is San Antonio. And even though I have no doubt San Antonio can beat them, I'm going to lean towards the Heat being that close to history, doing what it takes, and breaking the all-time winning streak record in the regular season.
Should we have any concern about Dwyane Wade's knee, which is supposedly bruised and not internally hurt?
No. I think they recognized the quality of the opponent they were going up against yesterday, and he considered it a day off. When I was around him Friday, he seemed absolutely fine.
Which leads me to, I'm of the mindset Miami will break this record. And Stephen A., as you know, it always takes a few breaks along the way to break a record like this. I think the basketball gods just gave them another big break, and that's tonight in Orlando. This Orlando team has been the Heat's nemesis because they have one guy who has been the Heat's nemesis in 2 games, and his name is Nick Vucevic. And I'm not sure he's even going to play tonight, Stephen A., but Nick Vucevic has 45 points and 50 rebounds, 45 and 50 in 2 games against the Miami Heat this year. Both went to the wire. A 1-point win at Miami, and before that, a 2-point win in overtime at Orlando. That's scary. That's why I had circled this game as a potential pitfall for the streak. But now, Aaron Aflalo tore his hamstring. He is gone for the rest of the year. So you take the best shooter away, and you take the nemesis away because Nick Vucevic has a concussion. And I don't know, if he's listed as questionable, Stephen A., I don't think he'll play because I think Jacques Vaughn will be arch-conservative here and say, just because the doctors cleared him, I'm not going to clear him. So another hurdle is cleared for the Heat, which brings me to my San Antonio Spurs. I don't trust them right now, Stephen A. Tony Parker just came back. They're trying to find themselves around Tony again. Doesn't look great to me. They're playing subpar, out of the playoffs kind of defense right now. I don't like it. Utah took them to overtime at home on Friday night. Last night they lost on a last-second shot to James Harden in Houston. He did it again, just the way he did it to him in the playoffs for Oklahoma City. I just don't like the way I don't like the level they're at right now. So I give the Heat a decided edge in that game. Obviously, the one in Chicago, somewhat dicey, but as you say, no Derrick Rose. I just think it's going to be a breeze. I think they're going to break the all-time record, and it's the best thing that could have happened to the Heat as they try to defend, because it gave them something to shoot at late in the year to keep them focused.
I'm of the mindset, I get where you're coming from, and I feel similar thoughts to that, because obviously it's going to take some time to get Tony Parker reacclimated, and Greg Popovich, their vision is about the playoffs and what they're going to do in the postseason. And he's certainly not going to go out of his way just to try to end the Miami Heat winning streak. He could care less. As a matter of fact, in Greg Popovich's world, he wouldn't mind at all helping the Miami Heat win the all-time winning streak in the regular season, and then ultimately capturing the championship himself, just to show the world. You see how much that meant? That's how he thinks. That's his mentality. Not to literally help them, of course, but you know what I'm saying. Sure.
San Antonio plays back-to-back the next night at Memphis. So knowing Pop, maybe he'll rest his starters against the Heat. He wouldn't be just like him. Remember what he did in the game at Miami earlier this year.
Well, yeah, and remember, beating Memphis is far more important in his eyes than beating the Miami Heat. Right. That's, again, so all of those things. But you also have to take into account the fact that the NBA will be monitoring that closely, because that San Antonio-Miami game is a Sunday. It's nationally televised. It's a huge, huge thing to the league itself, especially with Miami pursuing history. And obviously, if he decided to rest his starters, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, even though Manu Ginobili's not started, but Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, the way that he did when they played in Miami, even though miraculously they almost won that game without the big three. If he decides to do that again, remember the fine he incurred. And Commissioner Stern and those boys are going to be watching that closely. He may not care, but I suspect this point in time he will, because it wouldn't surprise me at all if the league office made a call to owner Peter Holt and was like, look, that better not happen again. Can't do that to us today. It's a nationally televised game with the Heat chasing history. We need the boys out there competing against LeBron. We need that to be the story. We don't need the story to be Greg Popovich rested his starters or rested his big three. Don't be surprised at all if the league intervenes to make sure.
You should make that call yourself. I mean, you're going to be there. You can't do that to Stephen A. Smith.
The game counts then, right?
Well, listen. I love Greg Popovich to death, and there's very little the man can do wrong to me. But I will confess to you, if I fly out to San Antonio and I got to go to the Riverwalk again, and I go to that game, and Tim Duncan and Ginobili and those boys are not playing, I would have an attitude. Yes.
What if Tiago Splitter is playing?
We all know.
Tiago Splitter
That is not good enough, Kerry. No. That is not good enough.
No, okay.
And I'm telling you right now, they don't want me to have an attitude. That's all I'm going to say.
Coming up next.